There's a company that many investors have wanted access to for years. A company that has completely changed the space industry, built one of the largest satellite internet networks in the world, and is now being discussed as one of the most valuable private companies ever created. That company is SpaceX. And now, with SpaceX moving closer to becoming publicly traded under the ticker symbol SPCX, investors are paying more attention than ever before. Some people believe this could become one of the biggest stock market events in history. Others are wondering whether the excitement has already gotten ahead of reality. So in this video, I want to break down what SpaceX actually does, why investors are so excited about the company, what makes it different from traditional aerospace businesses, and what investors should consider before buying shares. Before we get to the video, if you're new here, my name is Elliot. I make videos about investing, the stock market, and I also share updates on my own portfolio, which is on the Robinhood app. If that sounds like something you'd enjoy, consider subscribing. I upload videos every 2 weeks. When most people hear the name SpaceX, they immediately think of rockets. And while rockets are a huge part of the business, SpaceX has evolved into much more than that. The company was founded in 2002 by Elon Musk with the goal of dramatically lowering the cost of access to space. At the time, many people believed private companies would never be able to compete with government space programs. But over the last 2 decades, SpaceX has completely changed that perception. Today, SpaceX is responsible for launching satellites, transporting cargo to space, carrying astronauts to the International Space Station, and developing some of the most advanced rocket technology ever created. One of the biggest reasons investors are interested in SpaceX is because of its reusable rocket technology. In the past, rockets were used once, then discarded. SpaceX changed that model by developing rockets that can return to Earth and be used again. This reduces launch costs and creates a competitive advantage that is difficult for other companies to replicate. As impressive as the launch business is, many investors believe the most valuable part of SpaceX may actually be Starlink. Starlink is SpaceX satellite internet service. Instead of relying on traditional cable infrastructure, Starlink uses thousands of satellites orbiting Earth to provide internet access across the globe. This allows customers in rural areas, remote locations, and underobserved regions to access high-speed internet where traditional providers may not be available. Starlink has grown rapidly and has become one of the most important parts of the SpaceX story. Many investors view Starlink as a potentially massive long-term business because internet connectivity remains essential for consumers, businesses, governments, and military operations. Another reason Starlink has attracted so much attention is because it gives SpaceX a source of recurring revenue. While rocket launches are important, they are event-based. Starlink, on the other hand, generates ongoing subscription revenue for customers who pay for internet services. Many investors like businesses that can produce recurring revenue because it can create a more predictable stream of cash flow over time. Some analysts believe Starlink could eventually become one of the largest satellite communication businesses in the world if adoption continues to grow. While nobody knows exactly how large the business can become, it represents a massive opportunity that extends well beyond the company's launch operations. In other words, when investors look at SpaceX, they're not just looking at a rocket company. They're looking at a company with exposure to launch services, satellite communications, defensive contracts, space infrastructure, and global internet. Another reason investors are excited is the scale of opportunity. The commercial space industry continues to expand as satellite demand increases, governments invest more heavily in space programs, and private companies look for new ways to utilize space-based technologies. Many investors believe that we are still in the early stages of this trend. Of course, no investment is without risk. One of the biggest risks for SpaceX investors is valuation. The company has generated tremendous excitement, and excitement can sometimes lead investors to pay extremely high prices for future growth. Even great businesses can become poor investments if investors pay too much. Another risk is competition. While SpaceX currently holds a strong position within the industry, other companies continue investing heavily in launch systems, satellite technology, and space infrastructure. There is also execution risk. The aerospace industry is incredibly complex. Launch failures, technical challenges, project delays, and unexpected costs are realities of operating within that sector. That does not mean SpaceX cannot succeed. It simply means investors should understand that even great companies face challenges along the way. One interesting thing about SpaceX is that it gives investors exposure to multiple long-term themes at the same time. This is one of the reasons SpaceX has generated so much excitement among investors. It is rare to find a company that sits at the intersection of multiple high-growth industries. Instead of relying on a single product or service, SpaceX has built businesses businesses that touch transportation, communications, defense, technology, and space infrastructure all at once. You have the growth of satellite internet through Starlink. You have increased demand for commercial space launches. You have defense and government contracts. You have the expansion of communication infrastructure, and you have the possibility of future developments that may not even exist yet. That combination is one reason so many investors have been waiting for SpaceX to become publicly traded. Recent reports indicated that SpaceX secured the ticker symbol SPCX ahead of its anticipated public listing, adding even more attention to the company and fueling investor interest. If the company reaches the public markets at the valuations being discussed, it could become one of the largest public companies in the world. Reports have suggested valuations approaching 1.75 trillion, although investors should remember that valuations and IPO pricing can change before shares begin trading. So, should investors buy SpaceX stock? The answer depends on your goals, risk tolerance, and investment strategy. If you believe in the long-term growth of space, satellite communications, and the technologies that SpaceX is developing, then a company may be worth researching more. But like any investment, it's important to focus on the business itself rather than getting caught up in the hype. Great companies can create tremendous wealth over long periods of time, but successful investing still requires patience and discipline. At the end of the day, SpaceX is one of the most fascinating companies in the world. It changed space launches, built a rapid growing satellite internet network, and continues pushing technology boundaries that many people once thought were impossible. Whether SpaceX becomes one of the greatest investments of the next decade remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, investors around the world will be watching very closely when SPCX begins trading. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on SpaceX? And we'll see you next time.